Morning, chaps. Sorry, I'm just a little bit tight on the time.
Good morning, Beat. We are live again. Hey, so welcome to the next show. Don't do it like Joe. All about family, friends, football, and forex. Today we arranged a presidential election special, and I would like to welcome first of all Patrick Reid from Adamis Principle. Hi, Patrick.
Hello, young man. How are you?
Good, thank you. And I would also like to welcome our returning guest as well, Beat Nussbaumer from MacroBeat.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Nice to be here.
Good morning. So I need to apologize for our two other speakers, Ryan Nettles and Bart Burggraf. Last minute, they had a thing, family and business. They had to cancel it. Yeah. So now, are you ready for the show?
Which one? Ready. Or the 3rd of November? Both.
So we in Switzerland, we are always neutral. You know, we even wear a shirt where you don't see red and blue. Yeah. So I don't know how it is in the UK, but before we start, I would like to explain. I have prepared 5 questions for you.
Oh.
And who wants to start?
I don't mind, whatever. Okay, I put my hand up.
Okay, yeah, okay. So what will happen, Beat, with the American stock markets if Trump wins or if Biden wins? Do you have a view on that?
Yeah, I think that the interesting part is where the whole story switched in the last few weeks is Trump was always associated with the stock market rally. Biden was always associated with the stock market sell-off. This has completely flipped at least one side of it. So what we've seen in the last few weeks is that the market took the view that a Biden or Democratic presidency means easy money as in fiscal side, blah, 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 blah. This is obviously something that the equity market likes a lot. The dollar doesn't like at all. So the last few weeks, what we've seen is that sort of pricing in of the blue wave has created this lag higher in equities. And the dollar, not that the dollar sold off a lot, but the dollar was just kind of a little bit under pressure. It's been under pressure a lot against CNH. It's been a lot under pressure against Mexico, peso, rand. So these sort of EM pairs that would take easy money in the US as a real, Goldilocks scenario. Now, what is interesting and why I believe that view is correct is we have seen a shakeout in the equity market yesterday. The Dow was down about 1,000 points at some point. And the move, yes, small part of it was probably no stimulus deal ahead of the US election. But the bigger part of the move has been that some of the polls tightening out there. Florida is getting tight between Biden and Trump, and some of the Senate races across the country are getting tighter too. So now we should extend that question that you asked, not just to Biden or Trump, but to what color is the Senate going to be? And that is, I think, where the caveat is, something I do watch, because I believe that blue wave is dreamland. Maybe I'm wrong, but I aim towards being short some risk into the election, because I think one of the two will not work. So either the Republicans keep the Senate, and that makes Biden a lame duck, and it's going to be a risk negative event, or Trump keeps in office and the Senate flips blue. That's obviously the nightmare scenario that no one really wants to talk about, and the market isn't trading yet. But that's where I am. So Trump win will depend what the Senate is going to be, but probably be equity negative, because under Trump, people believe there'll be less stimulus than under Biden. So right now, the sort of old Trump is good for stocks will be out of the window for at least the first or the next few weeks. So stocks down on Trump, stocks up on Biden, and stocks up a lot if Biden and the Senate goes blue as well.
Fantastic. Matches a bit what I have heard in the last days here in personal conversations. Patrick, in the pre-announcement of our presidential election, you said whoever wins, you want a peaceful transmission. I love that one. Yeah. So what is your view on the market if Biden wins or Trump wins?
I agree with everything that Beat says. No, I'm only joking. I feel, look, I think it's a very tough call. I think what I'm going to do is just look at the reaction initially. I can't really call it, I have to be honest, because for me, it is all about the Senate. Now, this blue wave love that Biden's getting and stocks were getting has lost its allure. Obviously, there were some new negative COVID-19 stories yesterday, which didn't help. But I just feel that it's not about the win; it's about the way they win. It's the Senate, really, and I feel we need a blue wave for equities higher. And I just feel at the moment, and Beat's right, you know, that those polls, even look, they're still, you know, healthy, but they're starting to tighten. Well, we're getting at the sharp end, right? So that's all normal. That's fine. The thing that I'm worried about is, well, first of all, the asymmetry is risk lower, right? But the thing that I'm worried about is no one's talking about corporate tax. No one's talking about fossil fuels, right? No one's talking about unions, stronger unions, and no one's talking about an expanded government in healthcare. You know, this is all stuff that Biden stands for. So once, you know, let's just say he wins the Senate, he gets control of the Senate, there's a fiscal part 2, happy days, thank you very much. But what's he then gonna say about all that stuff? That's my thing. So that might be the point you start getting majorly short, because I just feel all of this stuff has just been kind of not priced in and forgotten about the markets. Everyone's talking about a blue wave. The other thing I read on Bloomberg the other day was a blue tide. So that would mean he gets it, not a blue wave, a blue tide. And that means the Democrats gets 50 or 51, not 55, 56. That would surely be a big disappointment for equities. All
right. Okay. So the sixth question is actually, I want to hear from you who will win, but we have that at the very end. You know? but the second question now is, we are now clear on the markets, how they will behave in the US, but Beat, what's your view on the rest of the world? Like UK markets, European markets, Asian markets, if Biden wins or if Trump wins, does it have an impact, you think, or it's unpredictable?
I think it's going to have a very big impact. And you only have to look at dollar CNH of the last few weeks. Obviously, the big move down in dollar CNH, I think since June peak, we moved about 8.5% on the downside. That's obviously CNH carry, because obviously with 3.2% 10-year yields in China versus the rest of the world, next to the fact that China is out of COVID and is back growing again, makes it almost a no-brainer anyway. But why is it important? The view is quite clearly that a Biden government would, they share some of the views with the Republicans on China. So it's not going to be China is all good. Not everything is going to get reversed. But part of the tariffs and some of the foul language that has happened between the two of them is going to ease. So obviously that's going to have a positive impact on China and probably to the wider Asian region as such. I don't know at this point what the Democrats stand for in terms of Hong Kong and other such issues, or the latest spat around Taiwan. I don't know, because the mistake the Trump administration has made in this campaign is that they did trot along with what the Democrats did sort of dictate, which was COVID. COVID is on the ballot. And the Republicans have not understood, or Trump didn't listen to his advisors, to make the debate or the election, not just about COVID. So that is the issue right now that we have. So that means we don't really know some of the viewpoints the Democrats have about some of the pressing issues. But as a relief, as a first reaction, and that's why I agree with Patrick, there is a first reaction and an after. The first reaction, I strongly believe, is what we discussed. Blue wave equals equity higher, blah, blah, blah. But I would say reality is going to set in rather quickly. We haven't mentioned the tech breakup, as in breaking up Google, Facebook, blah, 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 blah. So there's a lot on this democratic ticket that people completely ignore because either the masses hate Trump so much that they don't care who is going to win as long as it's not Trump. With all that come along. Sanders, right? Let's not forget, Democrats gone into bed with the far left. That's how Biden came about at the end of the day. So again, coming to what Patrick said, is it going to be a blue wave, a blue tide? Is it what is it going to be? Do the Democrats get a real mandate or a sort of semi-mandate? But coming back, Europe-wise, I think we struggle more with COVID right now than maybe care about the US election in some respect. But you could argue that nothing happens in the global market, equity market, without the US as a lead. So if the US equities bounce, so will the rest, and vice versa. So there is just, I think we have to separate the first 1, 2, 3 weeks or 4 weeks or how long ever the honeymoon is going to last versus when reality sets in.
Okay, I understood correctly, Beat, that a first reaction, or as Patrick as well said, a first reaction, you count more or less 3-4 weeks as a time frame for a first reaction.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay, and then a second reaction. Okay, Patrick, you heard the good analysis of Beat. What's your view on it?
Yeah, for me, I always like to go to dollar yen for a global view on equities, and I feel that obviously if you're going to get a lift on the S&P with a Biden blue wave, then you're gonna probably get higher yields. Probably going to get bonds off. You're probably going to get dollar yen higher because I think dollar yen's incredibly frustrating. But when you get an election, I traded 2016, and when it comes into its own, it comes into life, and I just feel that if that behaves properly and it doesn't have any outside kind of help, if it behaves like it should behave, so to speak. I feel that could be positive for equities in all of the world, really, especially Europe. The only other thing I'm looking at is MEX. If Biden gets in, you'll get a lift, you'll get dollar yen going lower, but because of the fiscal and happy days kind of thing. But you might get an even more lift on, say, MEX if it's not Trump, that kind of thing. And maybe ZAR. I mean, that's the only really thing I'm looking at. But I guess we would, European equities would follow the S&P along with dollar yen. But it all depends on where they're going, But I do feel that you could help not buy risk in Europe if you do get a proper blue wave. I always say the caveat is this: the victory speech really, I mean, it was 101, it was around that time, but when Trump turned up, he looked like a president. It was America great again. It was America first. It was kind of, you wanted to believe in him. And I think Biden, even if he gets the blue wave and he takes the Senate, he needs to be presidential. Now, last week he was making some assuages or making some delicate footwork in rhetoric around appeasing business and Wall Street. And, his allies were basically saying, there's a guy called Gerard Bernstein, advisor to Obama. He was basically saying all he wants to do is lift up the middle class. So this kind of talk, if he goes a bit further in the victory speech after the blue wave, if he goes further and there's any kind of dilution to the corporate tax, because that is the key. The rest of it is important, but it's all about the corporate tax, which isn't priced in. If he says, look, let's work together, we're one happy family, globalization, all of this good stuff, friendly to China, but if he says that, then risk will rally significantly higher. That's my
okay. Okay, that makes sense. So Patrick, Beat, I visited before this presidential election special both of your websites, Adamis Principle and MacroBeat. I haven't found much about elections itself. So is it for you as a macroeconomic specialist really a event like any other event you walk through, or you just use other social media to analyze this event like this session now?
To be very honest, I offer a pay service, which means I have subscribers, which means they come first and the website comes second. So reality is it would be unfair of blasting everything out there on the website and other people pay for it. So my website or the content is maybe 1% of what I do. 99% you don't see. And that is why, because I can't paying clients and then offer the same thing, even if it's with a delay. Well, I put my 2 cents out there at times, which I usually send out a little bit later than I do to the client. Sometimes it's similar, but that's still only a big small part that I discuss with people day in, day out. So that's really the main reason. It is a big event. I'm not yet quite sure in market terms if it's as big as 2016, because 2016 we had a real black and white view, even though the market was wrong at the end, because we go like Trump win is massive dollar yen down, massive risk off, and the opposite happened, right? So it feels less than 2016 from a immediate larger impact. So that's why I come back to what I strongly feel about reaction 1 and reaction 2. This time I feel we see a reaction 1 that may not be the actual end result of the move, but the bigger move, and I by no means want to say, equities collapse if the Democrats are really going down the left-wing road, but we could see quite some weakness over time. So if you look back, you suddenly go, oh, Jesus Christ, we're like 20% off the highs from pre-election. But it's not going to be a March 2020 situation. That is gone. Too much money has been thrown at that problem to actually see like a big collapse. I'm not sure what would have to happen. Maybe, if Sanders becomes, I don't know, trade minister or whatever, maybe that. But the only other thing I would say, and Patrick made that point about the victory speech, if Biden were to win, I felt, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but in a way, Biden was lucky we had COVID. You know why? He's been hiding in the bunker, which is fair enough. What he was able to do, and we will see on November 3rd if that is going to actually haunt him, is he made teleprompting speeches. So we did not see the true Biden, which is actually a little bit of a loose cannon, can't concentrate, can't speak for an hour freely, and. So what the Democrats achieved right now is, because Biden is a really big gaffe risk, and by keeping him in the bunker and let him read from the teleprompter, made him come across obviously a lot better in a way than Trump. But that's not the real Biden, make no mistake. But they could just get lucky and survive that. So that's why I say what you said is very important. What kind of Biden do we see?
I see. Well, luck helped already a lot of presidents in the past when you look in history. Now, Patrick, since we are frequently in touch, you put a lot of value on the presidential speech, victory speech. You also offer, by the way, I get recently very often asked to whom I should send people when they need education on macroeconomics. And sorry, because both of you convinced me, so I can't. So the last one was Erkan. Hi, Erkan. Go to one of the two, please. Because I do not give any recommendations. Yeah. So, Patrick, what's your view? Like, do you think it's just one other event in the whole yearly agenda, or is it a big impact?
No, it's not a big impact. I mean, people may disagree because we get hyped up, right? It's the expectation, right? We're buying into this massive event. You know, I've traded quite a few events, you know, especially when I was doing futures, and essentially, life will get back to normal. You know, it's just I say it's just a president. It is really. There are much bigger things here to trade. There are much bigger things. You know, the global economy, COVID-19 is so much bigger. I mean, you know, the health of the economic outlook is so much bigger, and you get presidents come and go. You know, it's like, you know, this is just another event really, and I'm not. You know, in the early days when I was trading, it was like, oh my God, it's do or die. You know, the Scottish ref. You know, it's Brexit. You know, all this stuff. It's like, well, okay, it's fine, but don't. You know, life goes on, and that's how I see it.
Okay, I like to agree to that. I mean, with my financial background and what I have observed. The Brexit was a huge event in my eyes because that changed everything significantly, the whole landscape politically, economically. But voila. Okay, next one for you, Beat. If Biden wins or Trump wins, where do you see the gold price and interest rates in the US? In the US.
Yeah, to be honest, it's along the same lines. Biden wins. Again, if we talk the blue wave, then it would actually mean gold higher and yields higher as well. So bonds will probably sell off on the basis of loose fiscal policy, which then might bring in the Fed at some point down the road if yields start to kind of go astray from what the Fed sees as its current policy. Whether that means we get yield curve control discussion back in or not is a different topic. Some people expect that 10-year could hit 1% in that sort of few weeks of the post-election reassessment, which in turn, if we agree that a blue wave means easy money, as in, you know, Biden already said yesterday is going to bring in a $2 trillion package right after inauguration. Just interesting to see that it's suddenly 2 and no 2.4, but anyway. So obviously that will be the view the market will have, at least at the start. So it would then, gold would have to sort of be revived as the kind of, you know, the more money printing, the higher, you know, gold should be going. So the old mantra should come back, which in turn would mean lower dollar, higher gold, higher equities. Would be in theory the first, again, these sort of 3-4 weeks of the first reaction. Trump, I think if Trump were to win, all the moves would be a lot smoother in a way that, yeah, maybe means less money, but we don't know. Maybe it's not so bad for stocks, but maybe it's not that good. So I think a Trump victory, let's just say if we keep Trump and a red Senate, it'd be kind of business as normal. We would actually maybe see a correction in some of the assets that we believe have priced in the blue wave. So equities have an initial move down just because we have to unwind the blue wave that, in my opinion, is being priced. We took out a little bit yesterday. Not quite sure if there's another 1,000 or 2,000 points in it in a unwind of the blue wave. But then it's like back to business as normal. We know it. We had it for 4 years. Now, then we may focus on, you know, if I come to what Patrick said before, then it'd be interesting to hear the victory speech of Trump. What does a second term of Trump mean, where he doesn't need to to sort of please people in terms of a re-election? Do we get a different Trump? You know, no one is speaking about that, but that's actually what intrigues me. Is he actually, if he were to win, is his second term where he actually really makes history, which he made history in the first term for all the wrong reasons? To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised, because he's not as stupid as we might think he is.
I allow myself to predict that he probably will not wear a mask, but the rest... The rest, I really don't know.
Yeah.
Patrick, what's your view on this? Like interest rates and gold. Usually they are a bit correlated, but if Biden wins or if Trump wins, where do you see them?
I mean, what I'm looking at, I like to look at, I'm quite like my rates. And I think, look, if Biden gets a blue wave, you've got a proper reflation, right? So I agree with Beat in that you'll have gold higher, you'll have equities higher, 10-year will be higher, dollar yen will be higher, and you'll have this reflationary, commodities pretty healthy, you know, there'll this be pure reflation trades. And I know that inflation expectations will spike just because of the package, and especially if it's around 2 trillion. I mean, that's enough. You know, it's down from what the first proposal was from the Dems, but you know, I think also if there's any kind of talk about another fiscal, which hasn't really been spoken about, don't rule that out. I'm not sure if that's possible, but you know, don't rule the intention out, which could take it up another notch, i.e. reflation trades. But the thing that I'm looking at is CPI and real rates. So I would just say, look, where's 10-year? 0.8. I think 1% will get busted, no problem, with this if we do get a blue wave. And I feel that you know, Eurodollar futures and OIS will start after this happens. They'll be looking at a rate hike. That's the next thing. I mean, you say there's not even thinking about it, but this is what will start to get priced in further out. So Eurodollar futures has priced out any cut, which is quite significant. Eurodollar futures usually the canary in the coal mine. And it was proven time and time again, especially with GFC. So I would just say, look, just keep an eye out on that. And if we do get a blue wave, Biden wins, slam dunk. I would say 3-4 weeks after that, euphoria, you'll just take a look at the rates, look at the swaps, and you might find something interesting.
All right. Just a bit more precise, a rate hike. Well, it really occurs like a miracle in the current situation, but I would also not exclude it. Second quarter, third quarter, or later?
I would say I'd give it 3 or 4 quarters, but the thing about that is always look at Eurodollar futures first, and then OIS, and just see what they're pricing in first, because that's before the Fed starts to get a tiny bit neutral. That's generally how I see that working. And when they start, I mean, then even if they start to say, look, data dependent or you know, all this stuff, that's the point where you'll see some pricing, not just in rates, long-term rates, but more near term. So, you know, look, if I said that right now, yeah, of course, it's you can't really imagine it. But let's not forget the wall of money, right? And the effect of inflation. I mean, I always go back to the old Milton Friedman quote. It's a monetary phenomenon, and basically, if you're giving an absolute wall of money, you're going to get inflation. You know, so if inflation starts going way above AIT at 2.5. I think it's priced in at the moment. If it starts hitting 3, there's not going to be very many. There's going to be some very difficult conversations because there's not much you can do.
Absolutely. Thank you, Patrick. Now, 5th question before we come to the prediction. Yeah. Actually, now when you have followed the last 2-3 months since the pre-election fight between the two candidates starts to get more intense, which was your highlight, or what were your highlights of this, what you have found in the headlines in the newspapers or on TV? Was there anything what really maybe even shocked you? Beat, what were your highlights in that last 2 months?
I have to disappoint you. None.
Okay.
No highlight, because Trump being Trump, so we know what he's about. We're not surprised how the first debate went. Whether that was a clever strategy or not, we may leave away, but we kind of know. And Biden is Biden. We know him as well. So there's not really anything in this campaign. But the US is as divided as it has never been before. But some people blame Trump for that, which I disagree. That division has started under Obama, and I have many US friends who told me back then that they are shocked how divided the country is. So Trump may have accelerated the process. So this is so much about, and I be honest with you, I got sick and tired watching any TV in that regard, because you get a guy on from that is leaning Biden, you know what he get. You get a guy on from Trump, you know what he get. So we don't even really serious TV broadcasters. There is no real independent voice, and it's a complete joke to even pretend it to be. It is not, because sometimes I spend some time in the US, obviously not this year because of COVID, and I was shocked during the Obama years. Stuff that we knew about Obama, if you watch CNN or some of these other broadcasters, they would just point blank not even mention it. So this kind of way how you manipulate the masses in believing whatever he said, and you have the risk, and that's why they probably want to shut down big tech or break up big tech. So into that came Facebook, Google, whatever else of alternative media, which obviously in itself is a big risk because they have a monopoly, right? So you suddenly look for alternative news, and you may start to end up on the fake news side as well. So my biggest issue of this campaign and of society in general right now is me as an independent trying just to get to the bottom of the story, whatever. You find it very, very hard to find the news that just talks about the topic. No bias, no leaning, not leaning one way or the other. So you can actually have a educated, discussion or decision that you can make. So I have no highlights. The only thing I would say is that I watched the VP debate. Of course, Pence comes over a little bit more state-managed than Trump. But I wasn't too impressed about VP nominee Harris. I did actually, from what I heard about her, I thought like she's a lot better than she came across, in my opinion, on the debate. And last but not least, what I say is, and this is in the eye of the American people to decide, you may have to know that VP Harris may be your president during the next 4 years. Because personally, I'm not 100% confident that Biden will run for 4 years. That's just one of my opinions.
Interesting point. Yeah.
But that's so I have no highlight as such. So that's why I say the election 2020 versus 2016 is a complete different one. Probably a lot less instant reaction. Yeah, we have a bit of risk on, risk off, whatever. But it's by no means anywhere near this sort of black and white and cliff edge that I feel 2016 was. So in that sense, but I will be here all night, as I always am, because you never know.
Okay, thank you, Beat. And I think, Patrick, one of your highlights was probably that Trump said he will not agree to a peaceful transition. Or what else was on your highlights, Patrick?
Well, I have to say, I kind of agree with Beat, but I do like the Trump show on BBC. It's a documentary about Trump, and it basically, if it gives you a shot in the arm of all of the Trump isms, because it's backstage, and they interview friends, enemies, and family, I think. But certainly they interview some very, very interesting people, and it's a great show. It's on BBC at the moment.
Okay. Is it daily? Is it daily?
Sorry?
Is it every day?
It's on iPlayer. It's on iPlayer. So if you're, and I'm not sure you can get it in Switzerland, but you can. I'm sure you can buy it from.
I must add, I must watch that one. I missed it, and I was told it's a good watch.
It's fantastic.
I haven't seen it, I must admit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So wow, now we're almost done. And what's your opinion, Beat? Who will do the race in the end?
Okay, I must be very honest. Until about 2 months ago, I thought Trump is going to make it. The last few weeks, I sort of thought it's a done deal for Biden. But I have two words. My head says, if you look at the data and at the polls, I think it was only Rasmussen that once had Trump in the lead, while the other ones all clear towards Biden. The head says Biden. The heart, and with the heart, I don't mean with the heart I mean gut feel, is you cannot write Trump off. And if I see now, so Biden had made one mistake in the last debate when he dropped the break down the oil industry in favor of renewables, blah blah blah. That was a big gaffe on his watch. So that changes a few opinions in the country. I think Biden hiding in the bunker while Trump is like just going from state to state to state to state. In Florida, I saw something on TV yesterday. In Florida, the Republicans just tell the Hispanic voters, if you vote Biden, it's like voting for Castro, because most of them are obviously Cuban. So they portray the Democrats as the socialist Cuban regime. Now, in other parts of the country, Biden is losing to the Hispanic population, actually, in Texas and some of the other states. So that means the Hispanic somehow, despite what Trump has done with Mexico, blah, 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 the Hispanic are leaning Trump for some reason, because they, as I said, they're mainly from Cuba, or a lot of them are, or from other South American regimes that, as we know, have been quite nasty in history. They all leaning Trump. So Florida and Hispanic, if he can get the Hispanic vote, sort of last minute attempt, he actually can win Florida. And so because I can't go two ways and I have to give you a prediction, I think Trump is going to make it, but he's going to lose the Senate.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you, Beat. Patrick, what's your view on this easy topic?
I think a blue tide from Biden. He's going to limp in. He won't take the Senate, and equities will be upset. Trump will go rogue because he won't accept the result and blame a rigged postal outcome. That's my view. Equities lower.
Very.
Sorry, Joe, if I interrupt you. There's one thing that we talked about, which I only just sort of picked up, I think last week. There's some people writing about a scenario that no one speaks about, which is a landslide of Biden. So that is something that no one talked about out there, because that would mean, and I think Patrick was alluding to it a little bit, a landslide of Biden is a real ticket for whatever the Democrats stand for, whether it's middle, left, whatever. So if he gets that mandate on a landslide, this could actually, then I have to shorten my 4-week window by about 3 weeks. And I say you get an initial rally and then equity is going to just dump. You know, because the mandate, because then a mandate, so a landslide, brings in the left of the Democratic Party as well. So then they think they can just get about everything done. Tax corporations, tax banks, tax every wealthy, break up Silicon Valley, blah, 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 blah. So this is a very big risk no one is talking about. Do I believe he get a landslide? Well, if you believe the polls, he could. But then again, you have to trust the polls. The other thing that Patrick mentioned, and I read an interview in the Blick, I have to admit, you may have seen it, Joe, from Bob Woodward. He has a new book out called Rage. He's obviously the well-known Watergate journalist. He says that, he still believes Trump can win. He does. But at the same time, is what Patrick is alluding to, and which is my worry as well to some extent, is that Trump will not accept losing the election. And so that's why maybe coming down to how do I go into the event is I'm just casually short risk. I'm trying to leave the dollar out, but I try to be positioned that would work if equities sell off. Because I think the market is perfectly priced. As I said yesterday, we took a little bit of blue wave out of the equity market, but on balance, the market, if you look at where dollar MEX is, I mean, yesterday you could think MEX is the new safe haven. The Dow is down 1,000 points, and Mexico is at highs, right? And the rand. So the world has gone really mad, right?
I saw, Beat, I saw by chance, I saw your tweet on that. You made me laugh. You made me laugh. Yes,
it's true, right? If you
as well, I saw your first chart about Bitcoin, Patrick, right? The Bitcoin or Bitcoin. What is it?
I was a little typo, I'm sure.
Okay, the Bitcoin or whatever. So I saw that chart as well, Beat. So that means people are up for a change. You resisted 8 years to do a Bitcoin chart. Now you did it. Voila. So maybe people are up for a change here as well, but never know. So we are perfectly on time. We are just getting nicely the presidential election special. And now, from my side, all is clear. It's rather Trump or Biden who wins. And thank you very much, Beat, from MacroBeat. And thank you very much, Patrick. And I still will not recommend anyone, because I want to stay neutral in Switzerland. But if somebody watches with one of the two, you can't be wrong. All right. Okay.
That's all I can ask for, so thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much again.
Thanks very much for having us. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye.